Hey guys, this is Meta Mentality. It's been a tumultuous week for the Vancouver Titans as more bad news seems to roll in. They have released the entire roster of our former Runaways team as well as their new acquisitions for Season 3. And now we're all left wondering what's going to happen to these players. These are some of the elite players that we've seen in the Overwatch League, now looking for teams, free agents, all available. So, here to speculate, as always, we have Spencer and we have Beatdown. Now, what do you think, Spencer? Where are these guys going and what works for them? What do you think is a good fit?
Yeah, so this is I think a really exciting time for a lot of potential teams in the Overwatch League. Like you very rarely see elite players like this available on the free agent market. So the way I approach this question is I do think a lot of them are going to stay in the Korean market. So most of the teams are in the Pacific Division. The first player that jumps to my mind is Slime. I think a perfect fit really is the Guangzhou Charge. Um, Obviously, with the whole situation with Neptuno after his ineligibility to play due to the visa issues, and sort of their roster being like I think really stacked as it is. Their tank line's really good with Rio and Krong. Their DPS lineup with Nero, Eileen, and Happy I think is one of the best in the league. And then Shu is a fantastic flex support player. I don't have an issue with Char, and I do know that he brings like a lot to the table in terms of his like potential leadership ability and comms and stuff like that. But I think that Slime would fit that team perfectly and really like fill the one sort of hole, if you want to call it that, on the roster. And I'd really like to see him go there. Next to that, I would love to see Twilight and Hawksall go to the Spark. I think the Spark are a team in desperate need of that elite flex DPS player. And I don't have an issue with their flex support. I think Baby, I believe it's Baby Bay or Bebe, sorry. I think he's like okay. I don't think he's like necessarily really bad. But he's not Twilight, and I don't think anyone's going to argue that he is Twilight. So I do think that you could also argue maybe John on that as well. They might need an off tank, but I'm just going to stick with Hawksall and Twilight going to the Spark. I think that would just really help round out that team. And Hawksall and Godspeed is just a filthy DPS lineup. And then finally, I have, or not finally, but I do think that Janu, speaking of Janu, might actually end up at the Seoul Dynasty. That's another area that I might see him go to. I know a couple people have speculated on that simply because they have two really good main tanks in Marvel and Michelle. Marvel and Gesture. And then Michelle,
yeah.
While he had a pretty decent year last year, I think it's concerning to a lot of people that obviously they've been playing Marvel on the Diva over him, which I think is like never really a good sign. And when you did see him last week finally play, they got 3-0. He didn't look that great. So I think that Johnny would really help fill that sort of off-tank role, and I think he would look great alongside a player like Gesture or Marvel, depending on who they decide to field. And one of Johnny's weaknesses has always been his flexibility, his inability to play Sigma. Well, guess what? You have Marvel to play Sigma, so you don't need to worry about that. He just has to focus on playing Diva, and I think that's a good look for him. And then finally, and this is probably my spiciest one, because I understand why a lot of people would disagree with it, but I think that Fissure to the Shanghai Dragons would be really interesting. I know, Beatdown's going to blow a gasket. I can already see it in his face. I understand the saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. The Shanghai Dragons are definitely not broke.
Yeah.
Arguably one of the best teams in the league.
They are.
I always have a quote that's like, always be okay with who you are, but never forget that you can be better. And I do think that adding a main tank like Fissure could potentially make the Shanghai Dragons better. I'm not saying Fearless or Stan 1 are terrible main tanks, but if you had to look at the Dragons roster and you had to pick a hole, I think the main tank slot would be the first area that you would look at and try to improve. And I think adding a player like Fissure would really solidify them as the number one team in the league. Let's not forget, they almost got reverse swept by NYXL. That could have been a 3-0. So I do think they're right now in that conversation, but they're not foolproof. So I'd like to see those players go there. And that's what I think. Or last point, super fun. Boston Uprising. Fissure, Janu.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Hawksall and Slime all go to the Boston Uprising. And we have Fissure, Janu, Hawksall, Jerry, and Youngbung and Slime. And the Boston Uprising go from 20th to 1st. And Cinderella story of the year. Yeah, okay. Worst to first. Okay, that's a little bit of a joke, but I just had to throw it in there because I know Reinforced spoke about it a little bit, and I just took it one step further.
Well, I mean, those are some definitely, I think they'd be exciting pickups if any of those teams got those. I think you make a good case. What do you think, Beatdown? Do you think these guys are staying in the Pacific? Do you think there's any chance that they could go to any of the NA teams or European teams?
Okay.
What do you see these guys doing?
I got a couple ideas for a couple of them. Before that, I got to address a little bit of what Spencer's saying. I think Fissure going to Shanghai is actually ridiculous. They're good. They're the best team in the league. It's not arguable. The only team close to them right now is the Fusion. That's it. and they are still
got
better
to
than
the
them. No, it doesn't matter. And the reason they almost lost to NYXL is because NYXL woke the hell up and decided, hey, you know who's still on our roster? Libero. We should use him. And then look at the result. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Shanghai are fine. They are the best. You don't want to mess. Listen. You once told me you understood that Fissure was volatile, but his skill was worth it. But is it really worth throwing that kind of volatility in an already star roster that's already the best in the league, that's already well on their way to whatever playoffs are going to look like at the end of the season? That is a rhetorical question because we all really know the answer. Now I'm going to talk about the Vancouver Titans players, or the former Vancouver Titans players, excuse me, F in the chat. Slime, I actually like your idea of Slime replacing Neptuno. Visa issues are kind of unlucky for him, but the timing actually works out if they wanted to commit to that, and that does keep him in the keeps him in the Asia region, which is good. Hoxell can go wherever the hell he wants. Almost any other team, maybe there are 3 teams who I think would not immediately improve with him, just off the top of my head. So that's good. But here's the thing. I could see, even though it is going to be tough to go to NA with the current state of the world, I could see Hoxell and Stitch both going to the Washington Justice. As we all know, they're I don't want to say star-studded because I don't really think they're that good. Corey's really great, but Stratus, But the point is, they lost their DPS duo. They're gone. They've retired. Stratus's last game is this Saturday. They're out. So, wow. And you know what? Half of that team is already Korean, so it wouldn't be that bad to put a Korean DPS duo there, especially one as Haxel and Stitch. I'm not as high on Stitch as some. I still think he's an upgrade over Tuba. And Hoxell, again, no matter almost any team you put him on, done deal. He's looking good.
Yep.
Last year's Rookie of the Year, if I'm not mistaken. So
yes, sir.
There you go.
Twilight didn't go.
Pardon?
Sorry?
Twilight. You didn't mention Twilight. What do you think?
I didn't. That's tough. He could, because that's another one where like he could go anywhere. Last season, I frequently said that Twilight was literally the best flex support in the league, just hands down. He is just absolutely nuts on the roll. That's tough. I think I don't actually have an idea who like desperately needs a flex support in the Asia region right now, or maybe even in NA. I think most teams are set. Even Boston has Myungbloom, who's honestly really good, but I also wouldn't wish anybody on the Boston Uprising, unlike Spencer here, cold-blooded.
Hey, they're bad, but I mean, you had Fissure, Janu, Hoxell, and Slime. I don't think they're that bad.
Hey, look, man, there's a lot of
saving this money. Huck has been selling players for the last 2 years, big braining this shit for when all these players become available and he can purchase their contracts.
If he does that, I'll buy you a beer, Chase. If that's what's really happening here.
Maybe that was the play.
Maybe
it would be
more than one beer.
It would be some 3D chess if that was Huck's master plan after all, for sure. I mean, one thing's for sure, with all of the flux in the Overwatch League right now between players retiring, players being released, there's no question the players on the Vancouver Titans are big ticket items in the market. And so we'll see where they end up, but maybe your predictions pan out. That'd be very exciting to see. Thanks for watching Meta Mentality. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe and follow us on social media. Find out where to follow us in the links below.